Hey, what's up YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent Switch/gaming video for this week, for the week of April 28th to May 4th, and we got 8 stories to cover. 8 stories that caught my attention this week, and I want to give you my thoughts and my opinion, including the infamous trailer for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which I will get to that. So why don't we get started with our first part of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be talking about the possibility that Cuphead 2 could happen, though. Now, obviously, last year, though, Microsoft released Cuphead, a fun but hard as hell 2D game, which had some run and gun elements, but it was mostly a boss rush mode and so forth. I played the game on the Nintendo Switch that came out, and I personally enjoyed the game. I thought it was a fun, hard as hell type of game. My only real big complaint about that game, about Cuphead, was I wish there was more run and gun levels. But either way, the game certainly has gotten praise from both critics, and from what I understand, it did well on the Xbox One, the PC, and Steam, and of course when it was released on Mac. And I believe it was the #1 game on the eShop charts, though, so it seems as though the game did very well. And with that, many wonder if a Cuphead 2 was going to happen. Well, a article pointed out by Segment Next seems to point to that might be the possibility, though. So in the article, though, again, this is from, if I'm saying the name correctly, though, from SN Segment Next, they are reporting, and I quote, "Cuphead was one of the big hits last year. The game was a 2D bullet hell that incorporated the classic morbid cartoon style of the 40s and the 50s. Because of this, the game took a lot of time to make and a lot of sacrifices from studio MDHR. What are the chances for a sequel in the form of Cuphead 2? Well, snippets from the Bancroft, if I'm saying the name correctly, Brothers Animation podcast may have dropped a hint. One of the brothers exclaimed that he was given an offer to work on a project. The project was reportedly a sequel to one of the best games last year, as well as being easy to guess. Knowing how often the brothers dab in indie games, hint that this could be the highly expected Cuphead 2. We could all go for a sequel, right? The bosses and the run guns levels weren't enough. That might also be a verbal mistake, however. The brothers might have been referring to work on a delicious Last Course DLC that Studio MDHR has confirmed. Considering the amount of time Cuphead has been in development, with earlier built showcase over 5 years ago, the author writes, I wouldn't be surprised if Cuphead 2 release date is still far away. So obviously this isn't an official confirmation at this time, and we haven't heard from either Studio MDHR or Microsoft at all, or we haven't heard from Microsoft. So at this time, it certainly is only a rumor at this moment, and they could be correct that they could be referring to the upcoming DLC for Cuphead, which I believe is also coming to the Switch version as well. That said, I would say the odds are kind of good that we probably will get a sequel to Cuphead, given the universal praise the game has gotten from both critics and gamers as well. So I would say there is a good chance a Cuphead 2 will happen, though. I don't expect they're going to announce anything. It could be a while until we hear anything, but I do believe a sequel to Cuphead is probably going to happen. As for whether or not we could see the sequel come to the Nintendo Switch, I would say the odds are good on that one, but I would say that in order for Cuphead 2 to come to the Switch, one, the Nintendo and Microsoft have to maintain the current relationship that they have right now, and two, the first Cuphead has to supposedly do well enough on the Nintendo Switch for them to consider, if Cuphead 2 does exist, to bring it over. And last time I remember hearing, it was the #1 game on the Nintendo eShop chart. So I will say, if Cuphead 2 happens, though, I think there is a good chance we could see Cuphead. I mean, yeah, if Cuphead 2 does happen, I think there's a good chance it could come over to the Nintendo Switch. So my overall takeaway from this is, right now, obviously it's just a rumor. We won't know until there's official confirmation. But I will say that given how well the first game did and the response to it, I would say odds are good that a Cuphead 2 probably will happen, and assuming the relationship between Microsoft and Nintendo is maintained, not to mention if the game does well on the Switch, I would say, the first one though, I would say there's a good chance Cuphead 2, if it does exist, I could see it coming to the Nintendo Switch as well. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2, and this one has to do with regarding that it appears as though that a physical version of the upcoming indie game Shakedown Hawaii is going to happen. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one we're going to be taking a look at the situation regarding the physical version of Shakedown Hawaii. Now, some you may or may not have heard of VBank Entertainment. They're basically were the one studio that brought out their first game though, Retro City Rampage. I remember seeing this game when it originally came out on the WiiWare. This was sort of Wii's digital service before making its way over to like the 3DS, the Wii U, even onto the Nintendo Switch, and also onto other platforms like I think on PC, Mac, and so forth. Basically the game was like, what if Grand Theft Auto was an 8-bit, still had the top-down view but in an 8-bit style. It also had certain parodies of other movies ranging from, or other shows or movies like Doctor Who, to one character that looks similar to Doc from Back to the Future, to an opening that kind of reminds me a little bit of the opening scene from Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, The Dark Knight. So it was kind of a parody type of a game, but it was fun nevertheless, and it was also very interesting to learn how that game was developed by, I believe, one person, which honestly that's kind of impressive in a way. So it was very interesting to hear when they were doing a follow-up to Retro City Rampage known as Shakedown Hawaii. I first saw this trailer back in 2017, and it was announced for the Nintendo Switch, and they were also bringing it to the 3DS, even the PS4, even the Vita as well, and also onto PC, although only through right now as an exclusive to the Epic Games Store, which right now has an issue with, right now some PC gamers have an issue with that. But based on what I've seen so far in regards of Shakedown Hawaii, to me it looks like what if Grand Theft Auto Vice City or Vice City Story was, you know, a top-down 16-bit type of a game. And it is certainly a title I'm looking forward to when it comes out by the time during this recording of this video next week. So it's interesting to hear that Shakedown Hawaii is going to be getting a physical version, and what's even more interesting is that not only will be getting a physical version, but it's also going to have a physical version for the PlayStation Vita, the portable system that at this point pretty much Sony has pretty much abandoned. Coming from their own website, although several articles have picked this up, according to VBank Entertainment, though, they are basically under their words about their upcoming physical release. They're saying, quote, "With the exciting PS physical release Shakedown Hawaii on the way, many of you have been asking about other platforms. So yes, Shakedown Hawaii will see a limited physical edition for the PS4 and Nintendo Switch right from VBank. You won't need to double dip with the digital then physical unless you want to. However, the PS4 and Nintendo Switch version won't be available at launch," and they explain more information below. They say they're basically saying why the Vita version first, and according to them, they're saying, quote, "Sony has ended PS Vita cartridge production, so the PS Vita physical edition needs to be manufactured first before the cutoff. For the other platforms, I'm waiting until," the developer saying, "I'm waiting until after launch so their disc and cartridge will contain the latest possible version of the game. Of course, all versions continue to get updates, but the more of them are right on the disc, the better. And according when, they're pointing out, quote, physical manufacturer has a noticeable lead time, so I estimate PS4 and Nintendo Switch will still be a couple of months off. An exact date will be narrowed down as things progress, and updates will be sent via product alert. I hope to put together some cool stuff for these physical editions, but those will also take time to design and manufacture. And nearly every waking moment of my time in the past few years has been spent just building the game itself. I'm also working on getting new or reworked cover art put together for the Switch, as it specifically aspect ratio and top corner logo placement encourage a more creative approach to the artwork design. All these things add a little bit more time to produce. As far as the PlayStation Vita physical, they're saying that pre-orders for the PS physical edition of Shakedown Hawaii will go live on Friday, May 3rd. Although this video will probably be up on Saturday. I'm recording this today, so obviously today at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UK time. It will be limited to 4,800 units, and the price at $29.99, $30 in US dollars. Shipping costs have been reduced as of this year, and the store now includes a shipping calculator, enabling you to select many different delivery methods. Pre-orders are estimated to begin shipping next week. As far as the digital version goes, they're saying, quote, Shakedown Hawaii goes on sale digitally Tuesday, May 7th for PC, PS4, Vita, PS TV, and Nintendo Switch for $19.99, $20. The Nintendo 3DS version will follow, but needs a little bit more time to wrap up. The PC version is available now for pre-purchase, and you can wishlist the Nintendo Switch version on the eShop. The PlayStation versions are cross-buy digitally, so you can get both the PS4 and PS Vita together for one price. They also support cross-save. So it is nice that they're going to do a physical version of the game. Obviously, PS4 and Switch owners are probably going to have to wait a little bit longer for those versions to happen. But I will give them credit for the fact that they're willing to do the Vita versions and leave those who own PlayStation Vita not out in the cold. So obviously, you guys, if you want to get the physical version, you have a Vita, obviously you guys will be getting it first before those who own like a Switch or the PS4 version, to be exact. So it's nice that they are willing to put out a physical version. And obviously some people will wait for the physical version, although based on what I've seen so far in terms of how much space it takes up, even for the Switch version, doesn't seem to be that much. So I might consider getting a physical version, but I might consider might stick with the digital version. So I'll have to wait and see. But overall, great that they're doing a physical version of the game though, and I'm looking forward to trying out Shakedown Hawaii when it comes out on May 7th. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 3, and this one has to do with the Sonic the Hedgehog movie and basically the response it has gotten. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video, and this one has to do with the Sonic the Hedgehog movie trailer that came out. So on April 30th, though, Paramount Picture dropped the first trailer for their upcoming movie based off the video game character Sonic the Hedgehog, and well, let's just say the response has not been met with any positive reception. In fact, if you go over to the trailer right now, currently it sits, as the recording of this video, it sits with 296K's like and 509K's dislike. I saw the trailer myself, and The only bright thing about the trailer that I liked was seeing Jim Carrey, and basically and I do kind of agree that Jim Carrey seemed to be like the 90s Jim Carrey that I remember when he did movies like, you know, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. I think he was the only bright spot in a movie that it didn't impress me. I mean, Sonic design, yeah, I kind of admit it was bad, and not to mention, I also thought the choice of using Coolio's Gangster Paradise was just like an odd choice to go for a trailer like this, to be exact. And well, I'm certainly am not the only one. In fact, according to several articles, it seemed that other people have taken, didn't exactly like the trailer as well. In an article in an article from a site called Cartoon Brew, titled "The New Sonic the Hedgehog trailer doesn't get the reaction Paramount hoped for." According to the article, it says, quote, "Paramount's hybrid live-action CG animated movie Sonic the Hedgehog, based on Sega's 90s video game, had a new trailer where we finally got to see the humanoid version of the famed rodent in full, and the internet is not happy. On the official post on YouTube, dislike already outweighs the likes. Scheduled to open on November 3rd, the $90 million film, directed by Oscar-nominated director Jeff Fowler, Fowler, again, apologize if I'm saying his name wrong, who is making his feature director debut. It stars Jim Carrey as the villainous Dr. Ivan Robotnik and actor-comedian Ben Schwartzer, Schwartz, again, apologize if I'm not saying his name correctly, as the voice of the title character. People generally were pleased to see Carrey take on the villain role, but the new iteration of the Blue Hedgehog isn't sitting well with most fans. A key complaint seemed to be that Sonic in the film is a far cry from the one people remember from the video game, the various 2D animation shows from the 1990s, or even the most recent CG animated series. In particular, fans can't stand the fact that this CG Sonic has a full set of human legs, which adds to the new, more anthropomorphic look that was hint when his long and toned legs were revealed on the poster several months ago, though. And some people on Twitter has responded to it. Some tweets read, quote, "Good morning to absolute everyone and everything other than the live-action Sonic the Hedgehog, creepy human teeth." Other comments are, "Left is the original screenshot, right is someone who did a rework on it." Others point out, "At least we always have this Sonic movie. I think it's the OVC." Others point out, "Nothing will beat Sonic's Underground." Whoever designed Sonic for this movie apparently decided to rip him directly from the live-action Cat in the Hat movie. Others say, "Please watch Sonic the Hedgehog OVA, a wonderful animated movie from 1996 that perfectly understands the classic Sonic characters with an interesting plot that's not ripped straight out of Smurfs." This looks so bad. The Sonic in Wreck-It Ralph was so much better. I kind of agree with that, though. The video game live adaptation movie curse lives on. Others on Twitter are criticizing the lack of internal logic in which Sonic is too slow to dodge a tranquilizer dart but can outrun 100 missiles. Some people point that out on Twitter, and some find it odd, and some are yet questioning the use of Coolio's Gangster Paradise as the trailer music. Some people have wrote, quote, "When the team behind the Sonic trailer to use Gangster Paradise," it shows some sort of meme as well. Some people write, quote, "I don't know what to start with, the awful composing or the percentage of the trailer that's devoted to a single unfunny joke, or the inexplicit decision to set the entire trailer to a looping sample of Gangster's Paradise by Coolio, though." So obviously the trailer has not sat well with people, and the movie is not going into a great position. And of course, which compared to, say, Detective Pikachu, which obviously is getting much a better praise, and people seem to at least based on the response we've gotten so far, seem to enjoy that movie a little bit more. Well, it seems as though some people, the director may have heard some of these criticism, and it looks as though they are going to, at least is what he's saying, is going to be making some changes. According to Entertainment Weekly, though, the article they have is, quote, Sonic the Hedgehog director promised Sonic will be redesigned after fan criticism. It says, Sonic is getting a makeover, or rather a remake-over of the makeover he's gotten, or something like that. The point is, the first trailer for the live-action animated Sonic the Hedgehog movie dropped on Tuesday, giving eager fans their first real look at the beloved blue hedgehog in CGI form. And those eager fans were not happy. Some compare it to the infamous Mike Myers take on the Cat in the Hat. Others were unnerved by the presence of disturbing human teeth on the character. But worry not, fans, for Hollywood has heard your cries of despair. An account believed to be from the film director Jeff Flower, the tweet reassured that the character will be redesigned before the film's release. The message is loud and clear. You are not happy with the design. You want to change. It's going to happen. He wrote, everyone at Paramount and Sega are fully committed to making this character the best he can be. Hashtag Sonic movie. Hashtag gotta fix fast. And he writes, though, thank you for your support and the criticism. The message is loud and clear. You are not happy with the design. You want to change. It's going to happen. Everyone at Paramount Sega are fully committed to making this character the best he can be, though. Article concludes, gotta fix fast indeed. The film is due to be released on November 8th, 5 months away, which would mean a very compressed timeline for the complete CGI effort. Still, stranger things have happened. Remember when Ridley Scott replaced Kevin Spacey with Christopher Plummer, Plummer, with a month to go before release, and Disney appeared to subtly tweak the design of the CGI Winnie the Pooh character after Christopher Robin's first trailer. We'll have to wait for the next Sonic trailer to see what the film can pull off. EW has reached out for Paramount representative for comments. They have not responded. So, if true though, I will give them credit if the fact that they are listening to fans concerned about this and all that stuff. But I wonder if it's too little, too late. And is this going to be enough time for them to fix this by the time it reaches its November 8th release date? And would this in any way, would this make the movie any better? Is the film any better or anything like that? Or is this film doomed even before it came out, even before the first trailer came out? And I do wonder if it's going to be, they may end up delaying the release though. So there's certainly a lot of questions that needs to be asked about this, and I am sort of concerned if they're going to be able to reach it in time, fix all this by the time the movie comes out on November 8th, if they still keep that date or anything like that. So my overall take is, I'm glad they're acknowledging the redesign, that Sonic needs to be redesigned though. Hopefully that's true and all that stuff. But I wonder if it's too little, too late at this point because of the negative response people have given to the first trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog. So we'll have to wait and see. But given this is a movie based off of a video game, and given that Sonic's, well, let's say it doesn't have the greatest reputation compared to, say, like Pokemon with the Detective Pikachu, I would say I'm not holding my breath. I'll take a wait and see approach, but right now I don't have a lot of confidence in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 4, and this one has to do with, in regards to the Saints Row the Third coming to the Nintendo Switch, and some of the information that came out to the report of a Saints Row movie happening. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4 of our My Choose End video, and for this one, we're going to be talking about information regarding Saints Row the Third on the Nintendo Switch and the report of a upcoming Saints Row movie. Between the two open world games that I could think of that to me is mostly recognized by a lot of people, most of them are obviously Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row, the Saints Row series. And the Saints Row series is kind of interesting. In a way, it's a little bit different than how Grand Theft Auto is, where Grand Theft Auto tends to have a little bit more of a somewhat of a serious tone, although there are some humorous moments. Saints Row, at least as up to Saints Row the Third, Saints Row 3 has always been kind of off the wall, breaking the fourth wall, humor, and all that stuff. And I really didn't get into the Saints Row series until Saints Row the Third came out, when that was released onto the PS3 or the PlayStation 3. And I thought it was a fun game, even though there were certainly some technical issues and all. Saints Row the 4 wasn't certainly a bad game. It was an enjoyable experience, but not as good as Saints Row the Third was. And the spin-off Agents of Mayhem I thought was a very fun game, an enjoyable one as well, but again, not as good as like Saints Row the Third or anything like that. So it was kind of interesting to hear when THQ Nordic was announcing that they were bringing Saints Row the Third over to the Nintendo Switch, considering the fact that they brought over several games, including the recent release of the Darksiders Warmaster Edition onto the Nintendo Switch. And so now we have some information coming out of exactly what to expect in regards of the Switch version of Saints Row the Third. From an article from Nintendo Everything, again, links will be in the description of this video. Here's what, basically it reads, quote, over on the official series Twitter account, the team behind Saints Row the Third, the full package has been answering fans' questions. Various details have been shared, including confirmation that Nintendo Switch Online is supported for voice chat, details on the frame rates and resolutions, and more. And according to what the article is saying, from what they picked up from the official Saints Row Twitter page, here are a couple things they point out. There is no cross-platform support or transfer for the Switch release. No news about Saints Row the 4 for the Switch. All the same songs are included on the Switch from the original release. You will be able to use the Nintendo Switch Online app to chat. Both the Unlockable Pack and the Bloodsucker Pack were excluded from both the original full package release as well as the upcoming Switch version due to the fact that these are cheap DLCs and breaks the game's balance. Gameplay coming soon prior to release. I believe they showed off a video of it. I think it was their memorable moments or something like that. No visual enhancements. 1080p 30 frames per second docked. 720p 30 frames per second undocked. Native video capture will be supported. There is a planned small 110 megabyte, if I'm saying that correctly, day 0 patch on release, but other than that, the full 7 gigabyte game is on the cart. The DLC is included in the base of the game, not via a download code. No amiibo support. There will be co-op either via Nintendo Switch Online or over local wireless. My Steel port and character sharing from the website is not returning. The Switch port will have the ability to save a boss locally and load them later. The same way works for Saints Row the 4 Re-Elected port. It is the uncensored in all regions except Japan, which needed to keep the original censorship to be sold. No plans to remaster old Saints Row game. So obviously it is nice to hear that this game will be the full game into the cartridge. None of this, not the you pay $60 for half the game and have to download the rest. The fact that the game's running at 30 frames per second, again, doesn't bother me as much. I won't deny I would like to see the game run at 60 though, but I'm okay with it running at 30 frames per second, provided it's a steady 30 frames per second. And the fact that it's 1080p docked, 720p undocked certainly it certainly is nice, and the fact that we're getting all the DLCs other than the unlockable pack and the Bloodsucker pack, which according to them they're claiming were cheat DLCs and sort of breaks the game though. The interesting thing that they talked about was no plans to remaster the old Saints Row the games, which I would be okay with if they did remaster those. I never played those original ones, so it would be nice to do that. Or the fact that there are no news in regards of Saints Row the 4 for the Switch. My guess, and again, I'm just speculating though, but my guess is that they're probably waiting to see how well Saints Row the 3rd does on the Nintendo Switch. If it sells well enough, then there is a possibility that they could bring Saints Row 4 over to the Nintendo Switch. If that does happen, then I would like it to be the re-elected edition though, with all the DLCs and so forth. So if they could do that, that would be great. I would like to see that. Not to mention, I would be okay if they were to bring Agents of Mayhem over to the Nintendo Switch. I certainly would be open to that. So interesting information about the Switch port of Saints Row the 3rd. I'm looking forward to trying out that game as well. It's probably that and Shakedown Hawaii and Retro City Rampage are probably the closest thing we got right now to a Grand Theft Auto game on the Nintendo Switch, until Rockstar decides to actually bring a Grand Theft Auto game over to the Nintendo Switch. If they do, I would love to see Grand Theft Auto 5 come over, and I would be down with if they were reworked, say, bring Grand Theft Auto 4 over to the Nintendo Switch. Another thing in regards to Saints Row is the fact that apparently a movie adaptation is going to happen. From an article from Deadline, though, according to them, it is reported that Gary is developing to direct movie based on video game franchise Saints Row for Phoenix, Fenix, Koch, and Koch, and Occupants. Gary is developing a film based on the hit action video game Saints Row. Greg Russo, who scripted the Mortal Kombat reboot at Warner Brothers, is writing. Gray, Gray, who follows Straight Outta Compton with The Fate and the Furious, just completed Men in Black International, which co-stars Chris Hemsworth, aka Thor, and Tisha Thompson, and will be released June 14th by Sony Pictures. Created by Deep Silver Voltron, Saints Row spawned 4 installations, has become one of the top-selling video game franchises of all times. It tells the story of the rises of the 3rd Street Saints and they battle rival gangs in an attempt to conquer the fictional city of Stillwaters and Steelport. So, Pitch is co-production between Phoenix Studios, Koch Media, and PANT Entertainment. Koch Film is a subsidiary of the German-based Koch Media, the conglomerate that owns Deep Silver. The film will fall under Phoenix Studios' production and development deal with Starlight Culture Entertainment Group. Felix is separately developing a feature adaptation of the video game Echo, and has Derek Kolstad John Wick trilogy to write it. So it's interesting that basically it's interesting to see the let me click that out. Okay, it's interesting to see that they are doing a Saints Row movie. Does this guarantee it's going to be a success or not? Not sure. Again, like anything, movies based on video games don't exactly have the greatest histories. Nor have I seen movies, based off of like hip hop comedy or anything like that. In fact, the only hip hop comedy movie I could think of, at least that pops into my head, although there might be others, and I can't believe I'm remembering this, but somehow I am, is I believe it was called Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood. I don't know why that popped in my head, but it just did, and all that stuff. As for whether or not Saints Row movie could work, again, it is possible, it could work, but like movies based off of video games, I'm approaching this one with caution. I'm just not sure this one will work or not. we'll have to wait and see, and we'll have to see how the first trailer is. Maybe it will be when it comes out, whether it will impress people or not, who knows. But right now, I'm kind of taking a cautious approach in regards to a Saints Row movie, though. I'll give it a chance, but I'll have to take a wait and see. So overall, interesting that they're doing a movie. I'm just not sure if it's going to be a success or not, or whether it's going to be good or anything like that. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 5, and this one has to do with in regards of Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, and in regards of what happened to the Switch version at PAX this year to an actual release date for Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 5 of our My Choose Set video. And for this one, we're going to be talking about some information that has come out in regards of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, particularly regarding the Switch version, to we now have an official release date to be exact. Now, before I talk about Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, and I know I'm probably beating the dead horse constantly saying this, but I do want to give a full disclaimer right out the bat. And that is, I am one of the backers of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I did back this game with my own money, and any opinion I have about in regards of the game, regardless if it's the Switch version or any of the other versions, is based on my opinion and my opinion alone. And I'm not being paid, sponsored, or endorsed by either the publisher or the developers. So I just want to get that disclosure out there for you, my viewers, or anybody who is watching this video. With that out of the way, we'll talk about Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, particularly the Switch version. Now, as some of you may have been aware, the game was shown off at PAX East Boston, and there were people who, most of the response has been generally positive, except for the Switch version. And this came out when an article from US Gamer came out, talked about how the version they played ran poorly, and that it was just, the frame rate was just bad and everything and so forth. And 505 Game came out reassuring people that basically that this was not a well optimized, that this version wasn't optimized, and that the final version will be optimized. Well, we finally now have some information in regards to the Switch version, what may have happened when that version was shown at PAX. Now, several articles were picked up on this one, but they all point to what was written on the Bloodstained Ritual of the Night Kickstarter page. So, according to the Kickstarter page, from what some of the developers were saying, quote, and here's their response. This was posted by Koja, the creator of the game, and he writes, quote, "Greetings, armies of the night. This is not your monthly Kickstarter update. We had to delay our regularly scheduled monthly Kickstarter update to Wednesday, May 1st. We appreciate your patience." This was written on April 25th, 2019. In the meantime, here is a report from the recent PAX East convention in Boston and details on the Switch version of the game. This month, we brought Bloodstained to PAX East in Boston. We were fortunate to meet many backers and current fans, and to show off the game to new players as well. Overall, the show went very well despite some challenges with the setup for the Switch version. It was exciting to get an update built of the game in front of players for the first time. The demo contained the Galleon, Galleon level, apologize if I'm not seeing the name correctly, you've been seen in the 2018 backer demo. But the visuals and the gameplay were updated. We wanted players to get the best experience possible from the game and have a good shot at battling the bosses, even if it was just for a quick death, so we let the demo play a little bit longer on the PC. I asked a number of players what they thought of the demo, and the reaction was quite positive. Almost everyone said the game felt right and remind them other games from the genre that have loved in the past. That's a big endorsement. As far as the Switch version goes, they basically write, quote, We did have an issue at the show with the Switch version that drew a lot of backers' discussion. Due to the way the console was kept inside the closed containment for the demo, there ended up being a significant overheating issue. This caused the game to drop frames and not run as smoothly as we have liked. The same build as well as the substantial one is much more stable when the console isn't overheated. There has also been optimization since the show to prepare for console submission and ongoing process. With that said, here is the launch status for the game on the Nintendo Switch. Undocked, it's at 720p fixed at 30 frames per second. Docked, 720p dynamic at 30 frames per second with additional effects and visuals, etc. That's it for today. Interim Kickstarter update. We will see you next week when we have stuff you might like. Probably, maybe. So basically, we now know a bit about what may have happened with the Switch version, at least according to what they're saying, is that obviously the container or where the display was put up caused an overheating, meaning that what caused the frame rate to drop. So hopefully that's not an issue when the final version comes out and that people get their hands on whatever version they're getting, especially if they're getting the Switch version. In regards to the dock and undocked running at 720p 30 frames per second, I understand some people's complaints, but I'm not losing entire sleep over it. A lot of people are kind of upset that they were hoping for this game to run at 60 frames per second, and I've seen based on some of the comments, not everybody is thrilled with the game running at 720p. And to some degree, I kind of agree with some of their issues with this though. I would have liked the game to run at 60 frames per second on the Switch, both docked or undocked, even if the resolution is at 720p. That said, however, I look at games that have been released on the Nintendo Switch, particularly games like Wolfenstein.to, The New Colossus, and Doom that have been released on the Nintendo Switch. Granted, they're not the version for everybody though, and obviously they're not going to look anywhere nearly as good as, say, what's on the PS4 or the Xbox One or the PC or Steam version. Those are probably going to be the better looking versions though. But the fact that those games were able to run on the Switch, even at 30 frames per second and run well, is very impressive, and it didn't really bother me that I was playing a game on the Switch 720p 30 frames per second, regardless if it was docked or undocked to be exact. I understand that's not going to be for everyone, and and I do understand why they have issues with it, but if they are able to keep it at a rock solid 30 frames per second without any hiccups or issues, I'm okay with this. I really am though. Would I prefer it to run at 60 frames per second? Yes, I won't deny that. I won't dispute that in any way, but I don't have an issue, but I'm not losing sleep over the fact that this is running at 30 frames per second. But again, everyone has their own opinion and their own take on it though. Another thing that we have now learned is an actual official release date, not to mention a new trailer that they put out that really showed not only the game's visuals and the change made from the old to the new version, but even comments made by people who didn't like the build at the time before they updated the visuals and so forth. And, you know, I gotta give him credit for putting that in there. I mean, that's kind of, in a way, ballsy a little bit, though. And honestly, I will say the visuals definitely look an improvement over the old version. On top of that, we now have a release date, and according to what we have now learned, and this is from Nintendo Life, they're saying, quote, it taking what feels like forever, but Bloodstained Ritual of the Night finally has a solid release date. The much delayed title, which set crowdfunding records for years back, will hit the Nintendo Switch on June 25th, a little behind the PS4, Xbox One, and PC edition, which all launch on June 18. Retail versions will follow June 21st, PS4, Xbox One, PC, and June 28th on the Nintendo Switch. Now, I know some people certainly have issues with the fact that the Switch version is going to come out a little bit later than, say, the PS4, Xbox One, and PC version. And I can understand why some people don't like that, and that may be true to a certain degree, and that's certainly true, maybe true to a certain degree. That said, I don't see it anywhere near the level as, say, like what Dark Souls Remastered was last year, where that one came out in May, and Switch owners had to wait until October to play the game. So the delay seems to be, let's see, it comes out 18th, 19, 20, 23. It's basically, for the digital version, a 6-day wait, while the retail version, 21st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, obviously a 6-day wait. So obviously Switch owners will have to wait 6 days after this version came out. And I understand it would have liked to be launched on the same day as the other versions though, but based on, it doesn't sound like the release date is going to be a long wait though. Yes, we'll have to wait 6 days, but it's not as bad as like compared to like what it was with Dark Souls Remaster for the Nintendo Switch, where we had to wait until October to play it while everyone else was playing it when it came out in May of last year. So overall, I still have faith that this game will probably do well. I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt in regards to the Switch version, though. I understand not everyone likes the 720p 30 frames per second, but I'm not completely losing sleep over it though. And I gotta give the developers credit for putting the criticism in their latest trailer that offered an official release date. And honestly, I'm looking forward to trying this out myself. Yes, I mentioned earlier I'm a backer and all that stuff, but I am looking forward to trying out especially the Switch version. And while I understand why some people may not like the fact that they have to wait 6 days later after the other versions came out though, to me, it's not nearly as bad as what we saw with Dark Souls Remastered last year, to be exact. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 6, and this one has to do with rumors that the Forza series could be coming to the Nintendo Switch. Sort of, in a way. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with parts. There we go. With part 6 of our My True Set video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the possibility that a Forza game could be coming to the Nintendo Switch. Sort of, though, by the name of Forza Street. Now, ever since the rumors about Microsoft and Nintendo kind of buddying up a little bit, though, there have been speculations of what games could make their way over to the Nintendo Switch, or what games from Microsoft could make their way over. Obviously, recently we just saw Cuphead has made their way over to the Nintendo Switch. There are rumors that Ori and the Blind Forest could make their way over, and there's been talks about the possibility that some of their other franchises like Halo, Gears, and Forza could make their way over to the Nintendo Switch. Although some of those considered to be rumored right now, we won't know until they officially show it off, for certain. Well, one of the games that I mentioned, though, could make their way over to the Nintendo Switch, but it may not be the version people were hoping for. Now, this was picked up by several sites, though, but a lot of them have pointed to an article from AR12 Gaming that wrote about this. Again, link is going to be in the description. According to what AR12 Gaming is saying, there is a rumor going around that Forza Street might be coming to the Nintendo Switch soon. It reads that, quote, Forza Street was launched on the Microsoft Store for Windows 10 devices last month, with the promise that the game would come to iOS and Android mobile devices later this year. Today, AR12 Gaming has received evidence suggesting that a Nintendo Switch version is also in the work. The latest game to bear the Forza name was revealed in April 2019 as a free update to the mysterious Miami Street title, which appeared last year. We reviewed the game here on the site, and it's not the best. It's a free-to-play, so there's no harm in trying it out, but it's certainly not the high standard expected Forza game. Quite frankly, it is a disgrace to the franchise and doesn't deserve to rock the name. However, developer Electric Square is key to bring the game to mobile devices running on ISO and Android to broaden the availability and expose new players to the Forza series. A release window has not been provided yet, apart from the word later this year. But today, AR12 Gaming has received evidence suggesting that the game might be coming to a fourth platform in the future. A member who goes by the name of Logic in our Discord server, they point out, quote, which you should join, we're fastly closing 20k members, sent the person who wrote this a snippet from the game's source code, which makes several references to the Nintendo Switch, along with the formidable Android and ISO. This aligns with recent news that Xbox is looking to partner up with Nintendo by bringing over some of their top games and service. Last year, they openly adopted cross-platform in a joint market campaign for Minecraft at a time when Sony PlayStation division refused. A report earlier this year suggested that the partnership between Xbox and Nintendo would expand to include even more titles such as Ori and the Blind Forest, Halo Wars, and Scalebound. Microsoft themselves says they want to bring their Xbox Live service to the Switch, which insiders also claim that they were also pushing for their Game Pass subscription service. Furthermore, another highly anticipated Xbox exclusives were added to Switch in Cuphead and Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice last month. In all honesty, I think Forza Street is a perfect fit for the Switch. The game is not graphically intense, though still features high-quality assets taken from other Forza titles. This is good news for the portable console because of its CPU-GPU combination simply isn't powerful enough to keep up with the latest AAA titles such as Forza Horizon 4, which features a massive, diverse open world. Forza Street is easy to pick up and play, which may cater well for Switch player base, typically perceived to comprise of casual gamers who primarily for fun, not competitive though. At present, the lineup of racing games on the Nintendo Switch is poor, thus giving a great opportunity for Xbox game studios to swoop in with Forza Street and capture a vital market share on the world's fast-selling console. After PlayStation's shock move to ditch E3 this year, the stage is clear for Xbox and Nintendo to announce their upcoming project Unrivaled. This may well be the time when the two companies drop their collaborate ventured, and thus we could see Forza Street announced for the Nintendo Switch. Now, I did see the trailer to what Forza Street is, and well, based on the review that they are showing, though, it doesn't seem to be overall that impressive. Basically, it looks like it's mostly, based on what I've seen so far, it looks like a quick time event and so forth, and I'm just not sure that's going to appeal to a lot of Switch owners, to be exact. I mean, compare that to, say, like Gears Club Unlimited that came to the Nintendo Switch, both the first and the second one. Again, those games are not 100% perfect. I mean, obviously they're not Gran Turismo or anything like that. But the difference between those two titles is, unlike the Gears Club game on ISO and Android, which has microtransactions, Gear Club Unlimited is a fully fledged out game. It is a premium, not a free-to-play style type of approach, and it is a fun racing game, not the most perfect racing game. Again, it's no Gran Turismo or anything like that, but it's not a bad game as well. And I'm not 100% sure, again, assuming these rumors are true, that this would be the most ideal choice to have on the Nintendo Switch. I think it would have been better if they're going to bring the Forza game to the Nintendo Switch. One possible option they could do is develop one design basically built for the ground up for the Nintendo Switch, and maybe incorporate maybe certain elements or certain things people like about the Forza series, and maybe incorporate that in like a Switch version of the Forza game for the Nintendo Switch to be exact. I'm just not sure putting a game that just uses quick time events and all that stuff is going to sit well with Switch owners. Again, I don't represent everybody who owns a Nintendo Switch. I'm just expressing my opinion about it. I'm just not sure about this. But again, as of right now, it is a rumor at this time. We won't know until we hear an official confirmation though. And given the current relationship between Microsoft and Nintendo, I would say, and given how well Cuphead is doing on the Nintendo Switch, I would say I wouldn't be surprised if they bring Forza to the Nintendo Switch, even if it's not the Forza Horizon game, if it's just a Forza game designed with the Nintendo Switch in mind. I just don't know if this is the right approach to make. I don't know if this is the right game to bring to the Nintendo Switch, given how the reviews of the game may not be great and not everyone is a fan of it. But as we say, it is a rumor for now, so we'll have to wait and see until we hear an official confirmations. But overall, kind of mixed on this. I'm not against the Forza series coming to the Nintendo Switch. I just don't know if this is the right Forza game to bring over to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 7, and this one has to do in regards to Borderlands, to be exact. Some information came out, and some confusion on some comments, and any possibility that a Switch version of Borderlands will ever happen. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with let's see. Yeah, here we go, there we go. Part 7 of our My 2 Cent video, and this one has to do with regards of Borderlands games, particularly Borderlands 3, and any possibility of Borderlands coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, obviously, Gearbox had their big revelation and big reveal, I think during PAX, of Borderlands 3, the long-awaited entry into the Borderlands series. And I will say, as far as FPS shooters go, I actually enjoyed that series a lot, though. I enjoy the gunplay. I enjoy the fact that the game is a mixture of basically a mixture of FPS shooters with RPG, and I love the whole art style and humor to the game. So it is a series I do enjoy as much. Gearbox, on the other hand, I have very mixed feelings. While they make that game make one of my favorite FPS shooters, though, it's also worth pointing out the series that the company has particularly a history of some controversy, especially from its CEO, Randy Pitchford, who ranging from him defending the decision to have the game as an exclusive on the Epic Store, which, as I said earlier, not every PC owner is pleased with that, to, of course, the most famous debacle that was known as Alien Colonial Marines, and the fact that he continues to defend it despite the fact that his company and he was caught with their pants down lying to consumers about Alien Colonial Marines. Putting that aside, though, the Borderlands series is still loved by a lot of people, and we got some information in terms of regards to this, including some controversy in terms of regard of microtransactions, though. First off is from PC Gamer, and they showed off, basically had a rundown on everything that came out so far in regards to Borderlands 3. They point out that we have a release date, which is September 13th of this year, and that the game is an Epic Store exclusive until April 2020, which, again, not everybody who's a not everybody who's a PC gamer is actually excited for that, nor do they like Epic Store and all that stuff. And one of the things they revealed during the event is that basically a couple of things, the 10 things they point out, is that your base is a spaceship. Offline play is supported, which I think that's great. That means you can enjoy the game as a single player experience, although the game will have multiplayer to be exact. You can hijack enemy vehicles. The villains are, and I quote, this is what they wrote, like the douchiest kind of live streamers of the future you possibly can imagine. The main quest will take 30 hours if you beeline it. Moxie's bar returns along with slot machines. There are emotes. There's destructible cover. There will be cosmetic microtransactions and DLC, but no complex currency system. Claptrap is still very loud and very shrill. The multiplayer supposedly will include 4-player co-op. If things work out, we may be able to play with friends on other platforms too. Randy Pitchford said before the release date announcement that developers had a very key interest in cross-platform play, though. They also said, we also know that we won't be competing for loot anymore, at least if we don't want to. Each player will get their own loot drop, so that means if you play with randos or greedy friends, you won't be worried about them swapping out swapping out every good gun that drops. There will be options to switch to Borderlands.to style sharing loot drop, though. And so there's basically, different characters to play with and so forth. So it is nice to know some interesting information. I like the fact that the game's going to be offline. The microtransaction part might be an issue for some people, even though it has been cosmetic, and this led to an entire confusion of exactly what is the whole microtransactions, what's the whole issue with it. Like, they're saying that there wasn't going to be microtransaction, then they're saying there is. According to an article from Forza magazine, it's basically saying that yesterday brought with a full game reveal of Borderlands 3 at an event media and streamers attended, myself included, according to what this writer is saying. Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford walked everyone through a large chunk of the gameplay and introduction, and then promptly went on a Twitter rant. Pitchford got into a fight with one specific outlet, Game Informer, who published a tweet that claims despite Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford's comments about no microtransactions in Borderlands 3 during today's live stream, we've been told cosmetics items are still purchasable. Pitchford responded to this colorfully. And again, part of my language on this, he says, replying to Game Informer, come on guys, shitty clickbait headlines. Literally seconds before I said that, I made it very clear we're going to do more cosmetic stuff like we did in Borderlands 2. You know, I was talking about premium currency and loot box kind of stuff not being in our games. What you guys would F me on this beyond me. Thanks a lot. Pitchford spent the rest of the day dwelling on the idea that Game Informer was painting himself as misleading or lying to players, which he claims his intention was clear. Although I would say, even if he's not lying, he's not in a great position to try to paint himself that he wasn't lying to players, especially after what you pulled with Aliens, Colonial Marines. Thank you very much. Pitchford said that the game will have no microtransactions, but then quickly added that they will be doing skins and heads. This echoes what Gearbox did by selling appearance items in Borderlands 2, but the problem is no microtransactions is a confusing statement when cosmetic microtransactions are still microtransactions. Pitchford claimed that his statement referred to pay-to-in, free-to-play style things like loot boxes or premium currency. In one of many tweets about Game Informer piece, he said he spent 5 years pushing back against corporate pressures to do those sort of things, and now he feels attacked that Game Informer is painting himself as misleading people. This actual headline of the article of Game Informer linked is simply Borderlands 3 won't have loot boxes, but the wording of the tweet about the article was the issue. I will say, though, that even if it is cosmetics and all that stuff, it's still microtransactions. No matter how you look at it, it still is a game with microtransactions in it, though, even if it's just cosmetics. And I can understand why some people might be bit concerning about this because we've seen games that have abused microtransactions or put microtransactions in $60 games. We saw what happened with Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the loot box controversy. We saw what happened when basically when Mortal Kombat 11, when they were supposedly trying to get away with the whole make it into a pay-to-win kind of situation, got called out on it big time. So yeah, I can see why some people are upset. Now, if it is truly just cosmetics and nothing else, then I will somewhat tolerate it because I don't have an issue if it's just cosmetics, if it doesn't affect the gameplay or anything like that though. But once you start turning it into a pay-to-win, once you start going beyond cosmetics and turn it into a kind of situation where you're forcing people to use microtransactions, then that's where I have to draw the line right there. And even if Randy Pitchford's intention is not to push back against that, with the whole microtransactions and all that stuff, which I certainly think that's a good thing, don't get me wrong, to call out people lying though and saying that, that people are misinterpreting what he's saying, after what you pulled with Colonial Marines, you can see why some people may be a little bit, you know, iffy and all that. So, not too sure about that one. But we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, it's just hopefully the microtransactions are just cosmetics and cosmetics only, and that everything in the game can be accomplished without having to spend one single dime whatsoever. And in another interesting thing regarding the Borderlands, the questions was asked whether any of the Borderlands games will ever come to the Nintendo Switch. And in an article from comicbook.com, Randy Pitchford made a comment about this, and he said, quote, and the article talks about Pitchford has been known to answer questions of fans on Twitter, which he has resulted in heated debate, especially over the Epic Games Store exclusivity. However, this isn't that, as one kindly fan asked if the Borderlands series will be making an appearance on the Nintendo Switch. And Randy Pitchford said, quote, "I would love to see that happen." Which is kind of interesting because he made a comment, I think like maybe a year or two ago, when someone asked about Borderlands 2 on the Nintendo Switch, and he said, let's see 1 million tweets to see that happen. And I don't know whether this is an issue he has with Nintendo, or whether Nintendo has an issue with him, or there's just simply no plans for it, or they're waiting to see how well Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition does on the Nintendo Switch to determine whether or not it's worth bringing the Borderlands series over though. Honestly, I think I would love to see Borderlands come to the Nintendo Switch. I would love to see that series come there, 1 and 2 and the pre-sequel though, and if it's possible, if it is possible that they could pull this off, if they could do a good job optimization compressing it, I would love to see Borderlands 3 come to Nintendo Switch, if they could pull it off, that is. That's if they could pull it off. So it would be nice to see the series come to the Nintendo Switch. Whether that will ever happen or not remains to be seen. So overall, I'm looking forward to Borderlands 3 though. I do think the microtransaction situation, think some of it was confusing, and I think they should have done a better job communicating it, and I understand why some people might be concerned about it. And last but not least, I would love to see the Borderlands series come to the Nintendo Switch. That would be great to play this series on the go. I know they brought Borderlands 2 over to Vita, and that didn't exactly run very well, so I would like to see it happen. Hopefully it will happen at some point down the road, but we'll have to wait and see. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I personally would love to see the Borderlands series come to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, I kind of clicked out of my video by mistake, so that was my mistake on that one. So let me click out this one as well. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 8, and this one has to do with Platinum Games and some of the comments they've made so far. And we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with. Oops, there we go. Fuck. Okay, here we go. Back with part 8. Part 8 of our My Two Cent video, and for this one, we are going to be talking about Platinum Games. Now, I would like to say that Platinum Games is one of my favorite developers out there, and they have published some games that I view as classics and certainly are a favorite of mine. Games like Mad World for the Wii U, the first Bayonetta game that was released on both the PS3 and 360 and then made its way over to the Wii U and the Switch, the Nintendo exclusive Bayonetta 2, which I also enjoy as well, the underrated Wii U title The Wonderful 101, and of course games like Vanquish and so forth. At the same time, they've also put out several unfortunate games that didn't exactly do great, such as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to Star Fox Zero, though. But either way, Platinum still remains a favorite developer of mine, and it appears as though they may be taking a different approach when it comes to their games. Plus, we also learned a little bit more about, basically in regards of Bayonetta 3. In an article, again, link will be in the description, in an article from the site VGC, Video Games Chronics, it's talking about how Bayonetta 3 has an unorthodox development process, though. According to the article, it says, quote, Bayonetta 3 will see a change in design process based on Platinum's experience creating the first 2 games, the studio has told VGC. Osaka-based Platinum faces an important year, with the firm set to undergo major shakeup in both business and design strategy. Studio head Inaba, INABA, said in an interview. On the business side, Platinum will seek to move forward towards a self-publishing model for its game, and specifically in regards to Bayonetta 3, Inaba said that studio is trying to move away from an orthodox development process. The game development team has learned enough from creating the first 2 games to improve its approach, Inaba said. With Bayonetta 1 and 2, we had basically an orthodox development process, at least for us, he told VGC. We did stage 1, then stage 2, then stage 3, and build up the drama and pacing chronically. For Bayonetta 3, we could say that we learned enough from making the past 2 games to change our process in a way that's different from what I just described. Asked if the process change was strictly related to development or something that players will notice when they eventually play Bayonetta 3, Inaba hinted at the latter. Maybe the players will recognize this as well, and that's all the hint you'll get. The director of the Bayonetta 2 left Platinum after more than a decade with the company. Although it's not clear what role he had in any of the development of the third game, Inaba said that there's enough talent at Platinum to cope with his departure. Platinum has a ton of different talented directors, and they're always vying for different projects, he said. As I mentioned before, we make a lot of different games all at the same time, so without a doubt there's enough talent here to fill the job that the original director of Bayonetta 2 had, and he won't confirm who is serving as director of Bayonetta 3. So in regards to Bayonetta 3, though, I think it is kind of interesting that they're kind of taking a different approach to this game, and I'm very curious to see what kind of approach it's going to be. Will it be still follow the same approach, similar but maybe somewhat different than, say, what Bayonetta 1 and 2 is? Will it be anything like, say, an open world approach or anything like that? So I'm very curious to find out, and I'm hoping at least that maybe we'll see some information or at least some gameplay this year. I would love to see what the game actually looks like, though. The only thing we have is that teaser from the Video Games Awards in 2017, which we know of Bayonetta 3 happening, but that's basically it. So hopefully we'll hear more about Bayonetta 3. I'm hoping this year too. But we also know that they're also changing their strategy and business approach, and they're also developing some new IPs as well. On the same site from Video Games Chronicles, he says that the Bayonetta Studio Platinum game. The article says Bayonetta Studios Platinum Games has said 2019 will be an incredibly important year for the developers. with the firm set to benefit from major new approaches aimed at shaking up both its business and design strategy. Speaking at VGC, in its Osaka, Japan headquarters though, he said the methodology change including new approach to how it designs its game, and in an attempt to build a new foundation for for the company. Bayonetta 3 will see change the design process based on Platinum's experience creating the first two games. He said, and the firm is midway through creating an unannounced title which he claims has never been done before. The firm will also seek to move towards a self-publishing model for its games. Inaba said that eventually reach a point where it has the freedom to own its IPs and make independent decisions on future directions. 2019 will be an incredibly important year for us, Inaba told VGC. Without speaking directly to the numbers of titles we may or may not announce, I can say it's going to be a year of some major new approaches, new challenges, and new methods for us. Basically, we're building a new foundation that in later years will pay dividends for us. New challenges are going to be very important. He also said Platinum's new approach can be broken into changes to its business model, including a move away from relying on external publisher funding, as well as an examine of how it's structured game design. He claimed the latter has led to an exciting new development project. Right now, we're in the middle of designing something that has never been done before. I know a lot of people say that, but we're going to work truly is unlike anything else, he said. Even for our varied history of veteran game developers, this is something that has never been designed before. So from a game design perspective, we're very excited about it. He had also alluded to an unannounced project once before, although it's not clear if he was referring to the same title. During a Bit Summit panel in May 2018, he claimed one Platinum game was working on would turn action genre on its head. With 2017 Nier Automata, which sold more than 3.5 million copies, Platinum enjoyed one of the highest points of its 12 years in business. However, it was still relied on a third-party company, in the case Square Enix, to bring its game to the market. During the first decade, Platinum reliance on game franchise it doesn't own hasn't always left the company with a clear route forward, especially when it came to negotiate sequels. Sega, the owner of the Bayonetta IP, eventually grant Platinum the right to make more games with Nintendo. However, many of those studios' other former creations, including Vanquish and Mad World, remain dormant. Even the upcoming Astro Chain is being created under an agreement that sees the IP remain with Nintendo and not Platinum. Inaba said that he is determined to break the cycle with the creation of two new independent IPs owned entirely by the studio, neither of which has been announced. This will finally give the studio the freedom to choose entirely its own direction, including making sequels, he said. It's absolutely the truth that there are cases where you want to do a sequel, but if you don't own the IP, you can't do it, he explains. It is simple, and quite frankly, in the case of Bayonetta, it took a lot of time and energy to get to the point where a sequel could be made. It wasn't as simple as picking up the phone and asking, hey, can we do this? There were a lot of pieces that needed to fall into place and a lot of negotiation that had to occur. That's a pain, that's a hassle for us as a creator. We want to get to the point where self-publishing allows us to own our IPs, and we want with it, including making sequels. So the fastest we can have that freedom, the better it would be for all the creators here. However, the pursuit of wholly owned IPs doesn't necessarily mean the end of collaborations, Inaba said, such as Platinum's previous work on Metal Gear Solid and Star Fox. Quite frankly, what it means is we have a lot of different choices in a way that we want to make games. There are still going to be potentially be games in which we partner with publishers to do big things with big IPs. There might be some co-publishing option where we're doing some of it and they're doing some of it to make a larger game. And there might be situations where we're going to be self-publishing larger games as well. So basically the summary of what I basically read, if I'm reading this correctly, is the fact that it looks like Platinum will be pushing to try to publish their games more and get more of a freedom rather than having to ask like, or get like, you know, like funding, or basically, you know, like how they can't do Vanquish or Mad World because that's owned by Sega and so forth if they wanted to do a sequel and all that stuff, which certainly isn't a bad thing in any way. And at the same time, it doesn't sound like they're going to abandon, you know, working with other publishers and all that stuff. So they're not abandoning that, but they want to have more of that freedom to, you know, put their own games out and all. And I, for one, am glad about that. Hopefully we'll see what those new games are. My hope is that they do come to the Nintendo Switch, but we'll have to wait and see if that ever happens or anything like that. And it'll be interesting to see if it comes either, you know, the PS4, the Xbox One, the PC, or the PS5, or so forth. So I'm a little curious, but we'll have to wait and see how things turn out. But it looks like, based on everything that I've read so far, it seems the future is kind of bright for Platinum. And I hope this new strategy of them's, hopefully that works out for them in the end. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinions. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the rumors about Cuphead 2? Do you think the rumors are true? Do you think that Cuphead 2 is going to happen? And if so, do you think that Cuphead 2 can also make its way over to the Nintendo Switch if it does happen? What are your thoughts about the physical version of Shakedown Hawaii, though? Are you excited they're doing a physical version? Do you think it's going to be worth the wait to wait a little bit longer? Are you going to be one of those folks that are going to order the physical version for the PlayStation Vita, to be exact? So, are you looking forward to that as well? What are your thoughts about the situation involving the Sonic the Hedgehog movie? Do you think the trailer was as bad as the internet claims it is? Do you think Sonic's design was really that bad? And do you think it was the right decision to do a redesign? And do you think they'll have enough time for the November 8th release date of the movie? Or do you think there's a chance the release date could be pushed back? What are your thoughts about the information that came out about Saints Row the Third coming to the Nintendo Switch? Are you happy with a lot of the information that has come out so far? Are you glad the game's running at 1080p 30 frames per second docked, 720p 30 frames per second undocked in any way? And what are your thoughts about the announcement of a Saints Row movie? Do you think it will work? Do you think it will not work? Are you excited for it? Do you have some concerns? What are your thoughts about the situation with the Switch version of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night? Do you think now them admitting that there was an issue with the overheating, does that alleviate some of the concerns you have for the Switch version? And what about the announcement of it being 720p 30 frames per second docked, undocked, 720p, or a little bit 30 frames per second with some better visuals when it's docked though? Does this bother you in any way? Does this change your opinion on getting the Switch version? Does it not change your opinion at all? What are your thoughts about the possibility that Forza Street could come to the Nintendo Switch? Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think this is a bad thing? Do you think it would have been better if they developed a Forza game designed for the Switch in mind and not this supposedly this game that was developed for Windows 10 that's being ported over to ISO and Androids? What are your thoughts about the situation in terms of with Borderlands 3 and Borderlands and the odds of Borderlands coming to the Nintendo Switch? Are you happy with some of the information that came out about in regards to Borderlands 3? Do you think they could have communicated better in terms of regards of microtransactions for Borderlands 3? And do you think there's any chance the Borderlands series can come to the Nintendo Switch at all? What are your and finally, what are your thoughts about the situation with Platinum though? You looking forward to Bayonetta 3 based on some of the comments they made? What kind of shakeup do you think they are doing to that game? And what about Platinum's decision to self-publish titles though? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this is a good approach for them to take? Or do you think this could be a bad idea? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye!